With drought comes the risk of increased levels of aflatoxins in corn-based feeds. University of Illinois emeritus dairy nutritionist Mike Hutjens, after the recent Professional Dairy Producers of Wisconsin Feed and Nutrition Conference, suggests what growers and livestock producers can do to safeguard their feeds this fall.
Well, certainly with the unusual growing season we had this year in the United States, new things keep popping up, and a new challenge for livestock producers will be aflatoxin. Aflatoxin basically is a product that comes from the production of mold growth on corn. Our stressed corn means it's more vulnerable to allow this mold to develop. Certainly ear rot, some of those things that opens up the ear will also cause the problem. The aflatoxin challenges because it's a carcinogen for both animals and for humans, so therefore there is regulations on how much can be fed to livestock before it affects performance, and also what appears in milk. And of course milk is the most challenging one because small amounts of aflatoxin can sneak into milk supplies as far as that goes. Right now we're looking at a potential risk because the heat stress and the drought stress has made this plant a little more vulnerable for this to occur. So livestock producers, especially dairy producers, should be aware of this risk at this stage of the game. Many feed companies and milk marketing co-ops are certainly monitoring this, and that is really good news. Good news for the producer because we know our cattle will not get into a problem, and certainly safeguard our product, in this case milk. The guideline is 20 parts per billion is the most we can give to lactating dairy cows, because about 1 or 2% gets transferred into milk. And so we can monitor the milk very carefully, and if we see the numbers starting to increase, then the producers should make some adjustments, meaning identify which feed or crop may be causing the problem, take that feed out if they can, dilute it down to get the numbers down below 20 parts per million out there in the feeding program. Another alternative they have is to put in a product that will bind it or tie it up. We call them flow agents. And certainly for aflatoxin, the product we're looking at is one of the clay minerals, so certainly make sure you use the right type of products. There are other aflatoxins, other toxins out there as well, which may require different products, so be well aware what might the challenge out there on your facility should be. So just be vigilant that this can be a new challenge with already a tough summer at this stage of the game, and be aware of that. Even if you're not feeding corn silage, be aware it could pop up in some of our corn byproducts as well. So check with your distributors and people who produce that to make sure that we're not seeing it in distillers' grains or other byproducts as well. So certainly it's manageable. There is very little risk here if we do it properly, but just be aware this year is another potential risk year for aflatoxin to pop up in feedstuffs.
We asked Hutjens what areas of the country should be concerned about aflatoxin.
So certainly there's areas in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan, it's not going to be a problem at all because they had timely rains and the crop is growing quite well. But certainly in areas in which there is stressed crop and corn. Now if there is no corn grain in the corn silage, you're not going to have aflatoxin because it's associated with the grain. So you're going to be looking at crops that have had a reduced yield, damaged stressed crop, and maybe some of the ears have been opened up that allow the molds to infiltrate and to develop as far as that goes. How can you stop it? Dry it down. And so another guideline, if you think there's a problem out there, is take the corn out very quickly. In fact, we would suggest take the most stressed corn first, get it out and dry it down to around 14 to 13%. The good news is some of our gases are cheaper now, so the cost of drying is a little bit lower at this stage of the game. Next, we can also actually screen the corn before we feed it. Broken particles, small corns, damaged kernels are more susceptible. So again, we could clean the corn by using some type of a separation.